I can hear it now. The conservative Bible thumping preacher firing away at the sins of the world. I can hear the Roman Catholic bishop denying communion to the divorced and remarried. I can hear it now. The sins of the world being preached at pulpit after pulpit. And these readings really do scare me. And the way they are used scare me even more. In fact, it just sickens me. I am tempted to shorten the gospel this week. I am tempted to preach on a totally different subject than what the gospel gives us. But my prayer and my faith leads me in a different direction. What would Jesus say to us today about this gospel that he preached so long ago? What would the God of love encourage us to do today? As Catholics of the Ecumenical Catholic Communion, what should our response be to the readings this weekend? I've prayed hard about it. I went to Sirach, who encourages us to choose between fire and water, life and death, good and evil. I went to the psalmist who says, "Blessed are those who walk in the law of the Lord." I went to Paul, who promises us something that no eye has seen or ear has heard, what God has prepared for those who love. Then I hear Jesus say, he has come to fulfill the law. What does this all mean? I was about to give up on this. I said a Hail Mary, spoke to a friend who said he'd pray for me, and I was still about to give up on these readings and not preach this weekend. But then I remembered a few things that happened over the last few weeks. I remembered my nephew Kai, who just signed to play college football, when it seems like just days ago he was romping around my house in his diapers. I remember LeBron James scoring more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when it seemed like just yesterday he was a high school kid in Akron who was supposed to be the next Michael Jordan. I remember Tom Brady retiring after an incredible career, when it seems like just yesterday he was playing for that team up north, as we call it in Ohio, Michigan, and being seen as undraftable. I remember that Super Bowl Sunday is this weekend, Super Bowl 57, and yet I can remember Super Bowl 20 and the Super Bowl shuffle of the Chicago Bears. And then I think, what does this have to do with the gospel? I hate sport analogies and homilies, so why am I going there? The answer is simple. Jesus is not condemning us today in this gospel, but he is coaching us to greatness. He is challenging his disciples and us to step up our game. To step up our game, like my nephew who used to play catch with me in the backyard. Step up our game like the high school kids from Akron that dreamed of playing like Mike and Kareem. Step up our game like the young kid who played for that team up north who nobody thought could make it in the pros. Step up our game like those men who will battle on the gridiron this weekend. Step up our game. This is the challenge of the gospel, to do better than we've done before. It is real easy to become like the scribes and the Pharisees, the bishop, the Bible thumper who looks at the sins of the world and condemns others. We do it too, all the time. Let's be honest. But Jesus challenges us in the gospel today to look inside ourselves and change what needs to be changed. Do not look at others' sins, but step up our own game. Step up our game and not only condemn violence in our world, but also deal with the anger in our hearts. Step up our game and not insult and mock our brothers and sisters who we disagree with. Step up our game and forgive until we are free. Step up our game and do whatever it takes to love ourselves enough to remove the bad habits in our own life. Step up our game and show the world what good relationships and good marriages are all about. We need to step up our game and let our yes mean yes and our no mean no. Step up our game. I know the section of this gospel that talks about divorce makes many of us uncomfortable. It makes me very uncomfortable. How do I support the unity of marriage and yet provide good, pastoral, loving care to those from marriages that are broken? How would Jesus do it? Well, the answer is simple. He would love radically. Love radically if you are married. Love radically if you are single. Love radically if you're heterosexual. Love radically if you are lesbian or gay. Love radically. That was Jesus' answer. That is the gospel. And that is how we should respond to these readings this weekend. As ecumenical Catholics, we state we believe in the primacy of our own conscience. I loved this when I was searching for a church. That we are led by our conscience, and that it is a signal, a voice of God for what is right and wrong. But let's be honest, we don't always follow our conscience. We don't always follow that small, still voice in our hearts. So we have a choice today. A choice between fire and water, life and death, good and evil. Let us step up our game. And let us become Christ together at the table of the Eucharist. Let it change us so we can step up our game and become Christ for the world. Let us step up our